first of all, I want to thank you all so much for joining us at the BSV Quarterly Townhall for June 2024. We are very excited to kick this off. We have a very special presentation coming to you in a few minutes from Alexander Mann and Gregory Ward from the Weathervane Tempest project. We're excited to show you that. But before we begin, I just want to do a quick call out. I know a lot of times I'm speaking directly to our audience, but I want to turn this around really quickly. And I just want to talk to all of my colleagues. I want to tell you how impressed I was connecting with you at London Blockchain Conference. It was tremendous. I think I'm still going to be remembering those lamb and chicken kebabs that we had at the Lebanese restaurant. Those were delicious. So thank you very much, Raj. But I want to talk to you about anytime you're bringing an emergent technology to market, it's natural that you're going to be facing headwinds because there's process of education. I couldn't be more proud and more excited to be sharing this stage. It's an honor and thrill of my lifetime to be up here presenting all of the colleagues that I was able to meet at London Blockchain Conference. It was tremendous. The excitement, the energy at the booth was electric. We have a tremendous quarter to cover with you over the past 3 months. Really exciting things from partnerships to a new education platform, the emergence of SPV reference implementation of the BSV blockchain wallet that will be following Section 8 of the white paper, Satoshi's vision for a scalable blockchain. And yeah, I want to take a second to just talk about that, the scalable solution component of it. As we're seeing tremendous success at the London Blockchain Conference, really seeing that scalability is the key here, and it is the unique value proposition of BSV. We're seeing the emergence of SDKs, the library components that are allowing developers to build on top of this. A very successful DevCon that I'm very looking forward to more of these sessions where we can teach developers how to build on top of this technology. And I want to talk about one last thing about a article that we saw recently from a key partner, Aerospike, a gentleman named Barad Babai, who is a principal solutions architect for Aerospike. And if you haven't gotten a chance to check this article out, I am going to link it in the chat. But it's a tremendous article because he begins and he shares his journey as a skeptic. I think some people hear the word blockchain and maybe they think, oh, this is just a buzzword or something like this. And he shares his journey as he went from believing that this may be just a buzzword to working with the technology and seeing what it's capable of, not just from the scalable solution as infrastructure for database solutions, but also from the green energy side of it, the ability to limit the emissions that are being caused by software platforms. So I found this to be tremendous because he shares the journey going from a skeptic to a believer, and it's through the hard work of our colleagues that this is all possible. I want to turn it over to someone who I'm so thrilled to be able to share the stage with, someone who has done so much for BSV and who has helped to galvanize the amazing progress that we've made over the past 3 months. Cyrille, Albrecht, thank you so much for everything you've done to lead us in this past quarter. And I want to turn it over to you to cover a little bit about what we did as well as where we are going.
Very good. Thank you, Brett. Well said. Hello, everybody. So I will provide the big picture, setting the scene. Obviously, my colleagues will go deeper in many of those topics, so I won't go too much in detail. But again, as already mentioned by Brett, the DevCon Day and also the London Blockchain Conference was a great event. And I think it was nice to see people again. And the DevCon Day was so successful that we plan to have this event again. We plan to have 2 events like that a year. And that means we will plan another event like that for end of the year. Then another topic, we also try to increase adoption, not only by technology and having good showcases, we also try to increase the technology, the credibility, the trust of the technology. also through other topics. At the London Blockchain Conference, we distributed a reference paper about BSV, about the technology, what is possible. It was created together with Boston Consulting. So we try to get, let's say, more neutral institution, well-known institution. BCG is just one institution. We work also with universities, Aerospike, Gartner, AWS, and a few more to provide trust and, again, as I said, to increase the credibility. And obviously not only on conceptual paper, but this is also one additional way to increase and to create the awareness for many, let's say, non-technical audience. Then another successful step which we have achieved is Teranode. Siggi is on vacation, so therefore I will cover this topic. I think last time Siggi was already mentioned that we are running the proof of concept. We started the proof of concept with 3 nodes and achieved it. We run it for 2 weeks, 1 million transactions per second, done. And then we run another proof of concept with 6 nodes, and you see the geographical location. And also this test was successful. So we run 2 weeks with 6 nodes, in average 1 million transactions per second. And you see a very nice picture on this slide below what we have achieved, more than 1.3 trillion transactions, which have been mined. And I think the 6th node was also successful because Gartner, for instance, expects a test with 6 nodes, not only with 3 nodes. So also here, this was a good exercise to increase the credibility. We achieved many, many more things. I can't highlight all those things, but just to let you know a few highlights from my perspective. Good. Then looking forward, as already mentioned, we have a strong focus now, not only on the technology, we also would like to move forward to have a better developer relationship program. Also here, my colleagues will go deeper afterwards. I just use one specific use case. Development tools, Thomas will talk about that. We did an analysis, we identified gaps. Okay, this is one element to make it easier for new developers. The other aspect is also Block Dojo. They do great ideas, they have great ideas, they do great things, but they have difficulties to work on BSV. They don't have the tools or they don't have the right resources. So these are little things how we would try to close the gap, to connect the dots, to increase again the efficiency, to help them to enter to the BSV world. So that's more the technical view, and the other is more the strategic view. Also here, you will hear more later about AWS and Aerospike. So we established a partnership. We would like to go further. And with this partnership, it's not only the ecosystem or the association, which has a benefit of it, it's also that we create some commercial opportunities where other people, other companies in this ecosystem can benefit of it. Finally, the roadmap, if you could go one slide further, Celia. You saw it already, nothing new, but for me it's important because we have a 3 years roadmap with a lot of changes and a lot of challenges. So again, I want just to refresh your mind. Teranode proof of concept, for instance, done. Next big milestone on the Teranode side is this listener version, and end of the year, a real running Teranode, still alpha beta version. And again, next year, Q1, Q2, we would like to publish, if everything goes well, an official Teranode release. Teranode is one important element. We have many more aspects, the whole overlay topic and many other aspects. I stop here now. It's important that you keep this transition phase in mind. It's not done in 1 or 2 months. It's a long journey. And therefore, I hand over to my next colleague. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cyrille. I'm very excited and proud to present Alexander Mann and Gregory Ward, who will be talking on the Weathervane Tempest project.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Cyrille. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, I'm going to give a little bit of a visual presentation going over this project and a little bit of the background behind it. And then I'm going to hand it off to Greg for the second half of the presentation, talk more about the technicals. Next slide, please. So overview and updates from Alexander Mann. So yeah, a little bit of background on Tempest as a company and why I believe weather data is so important and a really good opportunity for us to showcase blockchain's power in the utility of it. So Tempest was a crowd-funded company started through Kickstarter about 3.5 years ago. They had over 3,000 backers, and they got a multiple of 4 of their raise that they were looking to, the funds that they were looking to raise. Next slide, please. So anyone can go and purchase a weather station. They had a model that was kind of interesting and different in the sense that they weren't so interested in making profit on the sales of the hardware themselves. They're actually pretty much doing it at cost and not charging a monthly subscription for the dashboard here that you see. And that led to a rapid spread of the network. Next slide, please. And just in, excuse me, just in 3.5 years, they have expanded their network to over 85,000 weather stations across the globe. And this is amazing. And it's an example of how data can be so important and so valuable. Like the company was willing to take a little bit of a loss or not make a ton of revenue up front to expand the network, get the IoT devices out there. And now they have a global data lake that they are able to monetize out. Next slide, please. Yep. And something worth mentioning too is that there is underrepresentation across the globe in developing nations. So you saw the United States and even in the bottom half of the EU there in this slide, that there's a kind of a tilted distribution across the globe. And this is really bad, not just because people in those developing nations can't utilize the data to make more informed decisions, but it also really hamstrings our forecast models. So our global forecast models, ideally you would have a distributed distribution or a equal distribution of the stations. So you have representative coverage across the globe. When the model runs, you have better forecasts. But that's not the case currently. So looking to help expand this network, I saw agriculture as a really good opportunity or target because there is agriculture in practically every country across the globe. And this is a picture from Bricks and Columns. It's one of the first vineyards that I started working with and installed a weather station. They've also been a test ground. They were one of the first weather stations that we were, Greg and I were pushing the raw CSV data to the BSV blockchain. And this has been a great background story to tell. At the DC demo day in Congress, which I have a picture on, I'll speak to that a little bit. But it seems like the agricultural utility is a use case that really frames the value proposition for people when we're talking about blockchain. It also helps to differentiate between cryptocurrency and everything else. So next slide, please. Yep. So this is a picture of one of the stations at Cross Keys Vineyards here in Virginia. Next slide. And some of the farmers, these devices are touching real lives and adding real value to individuals' livelihoods and operations. And I hope to see this project expand and more value be driven by these transactions that we're putting on chain. Next stage. Another idea that Greg and I came up with was, once the data is collected and it's on the blockchain, we don't want it to just sit there. We want to put it out for people to engage with and learn from. So we had the idea to do a tasting room display in the wineries, and it delivers the real-time data to the customers as well as the staff, and it can serve as an educational prop. Bricks and Columns actually noted a slight uptick in tasting room sales due to this monitor and customers being able to interact with it. And the benefit is that the data being displayed is blockchain backed and stored on the BSV blockchain. Next slide. It's just a close up of it there. So the forecast and temperature, wind speed, it's definitely got a lot of good metrics and information on there. Next slide. So I was also able to present the end of last year at the Virginia Wineries Association, talking about the main focus there for them, because the wineries are on the sales side of things. A blockchained consumer-facing report, similar to the nutrition facts and the ingredients that are mandated by governments to be on the back of all food products. I saw an opportunity here to both educate consumers, but also prevent fraud in the market and ensure that products that customers are spending money on are in fact, the product that they're getting. I presented to Shenandoah Valley TechCon. There was some blockchain interest there. Most of it was around remote sensing and AI. But every opportunity that I get to talk about how blockchain can be used to drive utility and as a store of information, definitely want to highlight that. Next story, or next slide. I've been working with the Cozen office in Richmond, Virginia, to meet with legislators and have an opportunity to educate them. Next slide. My most notable meeting was with Senator Salim. He introduced SB 349 and 449. And these bills were two blockchain related bills that passed the Senate, but they didn't pass the House of Representatives, largely due to misunderstanding. As a senator, a House member jokingly said, "What is blockchain? Is it something that I wear around my neck? I just don't understand it." And with that misinformation, there were some votes, that ultimately, sent it to committee. So there's a lot of work that we have to do around education and really shining a spotlight on what's possible with utility-backed transactions and with the scalability of the BSV blockchain to be able to ingest these large volumes of IoT data. Next slide. So this is a picture you've probably seen of the gang holding it down at Congress. Next slide. And had an opportunity to show the Senate Ag Committee. That was a really good meeting. Just going over what's possible with IoT and blockchain. They were very surprised that blockchain could be used for something other than financial transactions. Next slide. I had the opportunity to speak on responsible AI, and I think that that's another topic that the BSV Association will be focusing on in the near future. With the recent advancements in artificial intelligence, there's a lot of opportunity to bridge the gaps and provide a lot of additional utility in the applications that we're building on the blockchain. Next slide, please. And that was the panel that I spoke with. A lot of amazing people. The guy on the left is the chief technology officer for Kroger. And so really, really cool to network with people that are, high up in industry and looking at these technologies. Next slide. And then lastly, I am continuing to build out the metaverse idea that we had of providing a educational space that people can jump into and use their VR headsets or laptops or cell phones to kind of navigate and be engaged with everything, all of the amazing work that we're doing here at the BSV Blockchain Association. So with that, I'll hand it over to Greg for a more technical dive. And thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Fantastic, Alex. Thank you so much. Yeah, great to be with everyone here at the town hall meeting. Alex has been doing incredible work meeting with the different Congress and senators and educating people about the use cases of blockchain technology. I think that it's been incredible to watch the lights turn on in people's eyes as they start to see what blockchain can do outside of financial transactions or cryptocurrency. This right here is just a technical overview of an individual transaction. So essentially, we just did a pilot test 2 weeks ago where we were pushing, getting some background noise.
Sean, would you be able to mute for us? And just a heads up, Greg, that we're at the 5-minute mark here.
Thank you so much. Yep, it's only a few minutes. So essentially, our pilot tests, we ran 5,000 stations every 5 minutes and posting those to chain. This is an example of an individual transaction. So it's just we took and broke down the individual station metrics and did it in a very concise way so we could make the transactions as small as possible. They're probably larger than we're going to eventually make them. Right now, we're using a 1 sat ordinal as well as an op return to post the transactional data. The op return is just simply just as a tag reference. The 1 sat is what we are posting the actual station data on. And as Alex was pointing out, one of the unique things that we could do with this is we could actually take it and bring it to direct from the device to the blockchain using IPv6, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But why that's special is because we could actually assign these transactions specifically to the landowners and the farm owners, those who are in charge of their devices. And so when you're talking about inclusivity of third world countries and developing nations, and just in general, anyone who's got metrics that they're contributing to the overall blockchain-based or blockchain-backed weather data, they could get they can monetize that data and actually get paid for what they're producing. Next slide, please. This is an example of, I think this is a little bit older, but an example of the cost for running the actual station data to the blockchain. I think let's see, the last one I had it. We're at 0.000003 cents per 6 satoshis per transaction. If you can, next slide, please. If you see it right now, that's just a current live example of the mempool. We were certainly pushing a lot of the bulk of the transactions per block. Next slide, please. This is just an example of a list of the transactions. Again, very similar to the last slide. Next slide, please. The benefits of using direct-to-blockchain methodology. So when we are able to use an IPv6 or just in general, having the keys on the actual device, we're able to sign the data coming from the device and push that to either direct to blockchain or to our central node, where we're able to check the signature and then publish the transactions. That is just huge because it enables us to have better security, more efficient storage, immutable records. We're able to capture the station at a much higher frequency. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yep, and I just spoke about this. Again, the IPv6, as BSV starts to explore this more and more, we're going to be able to actually have authenticated weather prediction models that are coming out of these devices. And so we're now able to show weather prediction that has not been able to be seen before with that type of accuracy and integrity. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges that we ran into pushing 5,000 stations every 5 minutes. Although BSV is an unbounded block size blockchain, the infrastructure still, as far as our ecosystem partners, transaction processors, there were some challenges as far as working with some of the different partners to make sure that it was processing correctly. We were getting response time properly, and so we were working with the various ecosystem partners, Gorilla Pool, BitTails, Tal, and we did get successful transactions pushed. Certainly, as we move on to Teranode, that's going to making the biggest difference in the world. Next slide, please. All right.
We're just at time here. Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. Perfect. And that's all. I don't know if there's any quick questions or anything, but we appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Alexander and Greg. We are going to save our questions for the end of the session, but thank you very much for presenting. And I have to say, it was a thrill to be able to learn about everything you were doing at London. It was awesome to be able to talk with some of your prospective customers and clients as people were, coming up and growing heirloom vegetables and, plant breeder societies from the UK that were really interested and keen on learning what's possible with this blockchain as a data solution. And I think that you really demonstrated that very well. So thank you very much. And next up, we have our utilization team, another team that we've gotten a lot of really great feedback from the community. And I wanted to highlight that feedback, feedback about the SDKs, about the roadmap and the vision, making the BSV blockchain more accessible to developers. So here to speak on that, we have Thomas Giacomo and Darren Kellenschwiler. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett. I will hand it over to Darren to cover the different releases of the past quarter, but maybe as a quick introduction. So our goal within the utilization value stream is to provide open source tools for developers to build on top of the BSV blockchain. And one of our main objectives is to prepare these tools to the Teranode area. We will cover it a little bit later, but to adapt the tool to mainly the Mandala upgrade. So I will let Darren, I don't see you, but to cover the different releases of the past months. Darren, I hand it over to you.
Thanks, Thomas. And also thanks, Greg. I mean, what an exciting project. We had a catch up about that. Thanks, Alexander Mann, also. Very, very interesting, and I love to see these things being put into practice and be fascinated to see how that develops into more sort of monetization of that data in the future. That's exciting stuff. So the SDKs, really in hindsight, these should have come first, but everything is clear in hindsight. We're doing really well on the TypeScript front. It's been ticking up the version numbers, so we've got 1.1.8 launched at this stage, which includes things like checking the fees of parent transactions in beef structures. So that's to do with SPV and having a comprehensive understanding of the entire structure, rather than we're going deeper and deeper in terms of the validation process that you can do in application without even broadcasting things. There's also things like from UTXO convenience methods that have been added for dealing with kind of more traditional style, coming from a database that just has TXIDs and VOUTs, and being able to sort of initialize an input within the new SDK based on that information. We have really good alignment now with the Go V1 launch, so that's imminent. The interfaces are all matching, so if you're familiar with the TypeScript SDK, but you want to get something that's in Go to match the rest of your stack, your backend, then the Go SDK is going to be the best place to go for that. And we've had conversations surrounding incorporating highly performant C libraries that we bind to from there to increase the transaction throughput capable with that library for incorporation within Teranode even. So things are developing really nicely there. Python SDK, we're in an ongoing internal review, sort of changes in relation to that are happening today and for the rest of the next 2 week sprint. That's going really well, about 3/4 of the way down there. There's also initial conversations surrounding a Rust SDK. So there's lots of interest there. We've spoken with the guys at Script, the guys at nChain, and there's a couple of existing libraries, and they're just in need of some official stewardship in some sense. So we're going to talk to everyone involved there and get that project started within the next quarter. So that's the ground level. We also have SPV wallet, of course. The V1 has now launched in public beta. So the cool features there are trusted contacts, so establishing a solution to the man-in-the-middle attack that would otherwise be possible with relying on DNS for payment resolution. There's also interesting conversations happening on the mobile front. So we're working with a real use case in Uganda to flesh out the user experience there for open source components that apply to the general case. So they're helping us with sort of feedback there to get a good user experience for both push payments, kind of like the recent Apple Cash announcements with NFC, and also pull-based payments, more like point of sale terminals, defining the price and then scanning happening for kind of like a tap and pay situation. So, but all of those things are being explored. We've just kind of had sign off on all the user experience side of that. So we're proceeding with development for the open source components. So that will become available in due course, aiming for September. Overlay services have come along really nicely. We have there are public links to these repositories. I haven't shared them yet because there's no official launch yet, but they're being worked on open source. They're out in the open, in the wild. I'm sure you can find them on our GitHub. They're about 80% complete, probably. There's actually it's probably more like 95 at this point, just undergoing final review. What that allows people to do is, I mean, I've been talking about this for the past year, but it allows people to form these services that oversee and administer subsets of the UTXO set and subsets of transactions, allowing you to spend all of your infrastructure budget on services that are directly helping your customers rather than facilitating the network as a whole. So that's coming along really nicely. We've got a couple of use cases in an example repository now, for example, for tokenization, basic tokens, for data integrity. And we've got a sort of hello world so that it should be nice and easy for developers familiar with Node.js to set up an Express server that accepts beef transactions, ingests them, runs SPV, runs the specific business logic, and it should be clear where you can add your own business logic. And that's where we hope these open source functional components will be sort of used by development teams to speed up their process, to get them working with this Mandala upgrade in mind, in terms of the way that they're organizing their infrastructure, hopefully to be more efficient and to work for them rather than supporting the infrastructure as a whole. But talking about supporting the infrastructure as a whole, we do have Arc V1 in production at this point. There's lots of user feedback. Lots of progress has been made there with beef ingest now being possible. There are a couple of features being worked on, like double spend detection, which was a request from the Enchain side, and a couple of other customers tokenized, I think, as well as idempotence. So I'm going to pass back to Thomas so I don't burn all of our time. I don't actually see the clock anywhere, but thanks for listening.
Thank you. We've been handling some working groups with 6 wallet providers within the BSV ecosystem to define a non-custodial framework with some custody capabilities. We've framed it, and the name is called Smolder. And we have currently sent it to the technical standard committee to make it an industry standard. We had the sign off from the different wallet providers on this proposal, and the goal will be to also implement it within the SPV wallet. So that's also something that we're going to reiterate to engage more with different companies of the ecosystem and to co-create the solutions with the relevant stakeholders. We are also involved in what we call pilot program series, when we partner with private companies to test our open source components in real environments. So that's the use case that Darren just mentioned. We are partnering with a company in Uganda using the sandbox from the central banks of Uganda to co-create with the Kite Financial company, a privately issued digital money, or also known as private coin, stablecoin, sorry, to test our SPV wallet, overlay services, ARC, and in real environment, and to extract some of the licensing requirements to ensure alignment with in real world environments. We also reach out to external standardization bodies such as IPv6 Forum to extract the business requirements coming from IPv6 standards and to implement it into core infrastructure components, and the multicast capabilities of IPv6 will be implemented in ARC, for instance. As Cyrille mentioned, we perform an overall developer tool gap analysis with Enchain when we identified all the gaps of the different developer tools within BSV. We now have a clear roadmap of each one of them. We already started, obviously, with the roadmap that is already delivered, but there will be additional next steps, especially related to the token protocol standardization, smart contract standardization, and so on. We have also clarified our open source operating model through the TypeScript library when we have a clear guideline in terms of open source. Just 30 seconds. We have clear guidelines in terms of open source contribution, allowing us to welcome more contribution from the different developers in the ecosystem and to enhance the flywheel effect. We've also started a project to clarify our strategy in terms of our open BSV open source license, because we identified that out of 18 developer tools, only 2 outside developer tools are compatible with our open source license, which is a hurdle in terms of adoption. That's something also that we are currently clarifying. We've articulated the mandala upgrade design to make sure that people understand that the new network topology allowed by Teranode will be to make sure that application builders will be able to be aligned with Teranode. They will have to run SPV and use the overlay services. That was an important message to share and to ensure that will enable clear adoption of the overall new network topology. And obviously, we active in terms of engagements with different hackathons in San Francisco, BSV Tech Talk, and so on. I will stop there. Thank you for your attention.
All right, thank you very much, Thomas. And next up, we have Connor Murray to talk to us about stewardship. Connor, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. I'll use this time to just talk about probably the most interesting thing. There's obviously other stuff we've been up to over the last few months, but this is the culmination of work that we started when we came up with the stewardship value stream over a year ago, which was to finish the last bits of protocol restoration that never got done after the Genesis update, the SV node update that was released in February of 2020. So we finished the scope of this, and the work is almost done on SV node, which I'll let Frank talk about the timelines after this slide. But I'm going to bore you guys with a little bit of technical stuff here and go through all the changes. And give you a little bit of background. So first of all, the first scope of the project for protocol restoration involved identifying the last remaining opcodes that needed to be re-enabled. 3 of them are quite straightforward. One of them is, actually, I'm missing 2 of them on here as well. Op substring, op left, op right. These were replaced, I believe, with op splits by the Bitcoin Cash developers. We're just going to restore those for completion's sake, but it doesn't really actually bring any new functionality because you can already achieve that with op split, which was an added opcode by the Bitcoin Cash developers. Op2 mul and op2 div, that's basically just multiply by 2 and divide by 2. Functionality you can still do today by doing op2 op mul, but this just makes things easier. And then probably the most interesting ones, which is opver, which is short for op version. So this will push a version to the stack. The original opcode caused a lot of problems because I think it just grabbed the node version and it pushed it to the stack, which caused a lot of problems at script execution. This will push the transaction version to the stack, which will allow you to basically, at the time of signing the transaction, determine the script validation rules that you want the transaction subjected to. So a really simple use case for this would be, let's say you built some kind of overlay network, let's say like a CBDC. You could have a CBDC or something like that that says, you know, if I'm signing with the version of CBDC US dollar, insert some script conditional that maybe has built-in whatever US government rules for sending and receiving US dollar that they might want to add in, with another conditional that says, you know, if you don't sign under that rule set, then enable some kind of like digital asset recovery or something like that, right? So all sorts of things that you could do by basically defining the context by which you're signing the transaction at the time of signing. I think it's really interesting. Not necessarily something you couldn't already do today, but a bit more elegant than other ways that you could have done it. These other limitations. So two of these are quite interesting. So I'll cover the less interesting ones first. One of them that we're removing is the requirement for a low S value for signatures. You'll find when you research a lot of these changes that were added, a lot of these changes were introduced to prevent transaction malleability. And transaction malleability isn't really an issue for a variety of reasons that we've covered in the BSV space for a number of years. So if you want to use a low S value, then go for it. Not something super dramatic of a change, but I know it hits some people when they use like the op push TX technique and things like that. They run into this issue where they don't really care what the S value is. The minimal encoding requirement. So there's also a requirement that data has to be minimally encoded. That requirement will also be removed. And then these other two are interesting, which is the clean stack requirement. I think that was also added in the Bitcoin Cash fork, which was basically the stack had to either be 1 or 0. Nothing else could be left on the stack. This would allow you to basically leave some data element on the stack at the end of script execution and still have it evaluate to true for spending. And then last, the push data only rule. So this is a rule that basically anything in the unlocking script is treated as a push data, meaning you can't have opcodes in the unlocking script. This also wasn't a requirement in the original protocol. And there's been identified use cases for, well, I won't give away what triggered the ask for this, but oh, my time's up. But yeah, there's interesting use cases that developers could think of. And the other main driving factor for why we're doing this is we don't want to be a limiting factor for developers' imaginations. So by getting this right back to the original, we remove our involvement in restricting any developer imagination. I was probably going to say something else, but I'm out of time. So I'll let Frank now talk about the timeline for this release here.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Frank.
Good. Thank you, Connor. We will be talking about this to all of you. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, over the coming month as the release is going to get ready. Just a quick spotlight on the timeline we're currently looking at. The team has been working on this for quite some time. We're aiming to be dev complete in July and then be able to thoroughly test that on STN. So we have a bug-free, robust release ready. Aiming to have that out in October. So that's Q3, Q4, with a mainnet activation later. Actually, no, in February 2025. And for those of you who have paid attention to Connor's comments, and for those of you who have been around for a while, you know, if we can get that out February 4th, 2025, that will be pretty much on the mark after the Genesis release, you know, that was published 5 years ago at that time. So this is continuing apace. Other topics that we are concerned with, and that's probably interesting for all of you who will be working and building out on overlay networks, SPV wallets a bit further down the road. We are working on getting a testnet Teranode Pure up and running. Yeah, we'll invite selected players first to try this out and hopefully bring that public as a beta version for builders to use. Going forward somewhere end of summer, early fall, is our target date for that. So that's another topic. I think it will make our friends in utilization quite happy that they'll be able to run their work on the Teranode testnet, but we will gradually open that up. Also, we'll accompany that with more communication on status and where this is heading. Yeah, and so just not to forget, I think Martin will be talking about that. If you check out our new reworked bsvblockchain.org website, have a quick look. We publish now network stats for your use. Pretty cool overview of, like, peak transaction volumes, UTXO sets, and so on and so forth, just as at the tip of your fingers. And the other bit that we do show is network health. You may, for those of you who look around a little bit, the other blockchains will recognize the layout of that, but we just wanted to make sure that everybody knows, okay, network is up and running, and we have been up 100% for many, many months. So speaks to the robustness of our BSV blockchain. 2 minutes to spare.
All right. Thank you so much, Frank. Excellent work. And next, I want to turn it over to Sean Ryan from the outreach team. Sean, take it away.
Thanks, Brett. Thanks, Frank. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everybody again since LBC. Outreach team has been up to a lot of things over the last quarter. Some of the things that we're focused on over the last quarter was strategic partnerships and strategic memberships. One of the big highlights of the last quarter has been in the works for over a year. I've been working with AWS with the Teranode team for a little over a year, and with the help of Manuel and Jordan, our great stakeholders at AWS, we were able to put together AWS Executive Briefing Center event, which took place a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to first off thank Alex Gora, Frank, and also Thomas for helping organize the event and put together the material needed to present everything in a professional manner to the AWS team. But overall, the event was, I think, a great success. We, were able to educate AWS more on our technology. I think we definitely were able to open some eyes, and I think we created some more champions internally with AWS. Some of the areas that we talked about were managed blockchain services that AWS currently has. I think they were very intrigued by some of the offerings that we could help them with. We also used the time to target 3 areas that we're going to be looking to engage in prototyping labs with AWS. One that we're currently focused on getting together first and foremost is the IPv6 multicast prototype engagement. So I'm working again with the team to put together AWS 1-pagers and 6-pagers to kind of push forward that project as well. On the other side of the AWS relationship, we are building out our partnership with them, and I just want to thank Martin with his help on that. He's been, helping a lot with organizing the partnership. The goal is to have an overall partnership for the ecosystem so everyone can take advantage of our relationship. And you'll have more details on that as we move forward and finalize everything. Some of the key takeaways, I think, from the event were, one in particular was their sustainability expert. I think he really understood, what blockchain offers, but I don't think he was very versed on our technology. I think he was very open and intrigued. And, he had mentioned that they have multiple, I think upwards of 50 customers looking for blockchain solutions. And, we're going to start having more meetings with the expert to kind of pair up the right opportunities and solutions. Another thing that we've been working on is, helping with utilization to help get adoption for the SPV wallet. We have identified our first exchange willing to integrate it. I'd like to give a shout out to Cleaner and thank you for your openness to working with us. But, I know Darren and the team have been working with him to integrate the SPV wallet. And it's important for us because as I have conversations with exchanges and we know that, it's going to be necessary to utilize this wallet going forward with the amount of transactions that are going to be coming through. exchanges are asking for references. So, it's always hard to get the first one, and we're lucky to have, Orange Gateway integrating this so we can go out to the other exchanges and we have references and people that they can talk to about the integration. I'd like to kick it over to Marcin Zatecki, who's been doing an amazing job at putting together a developer relationship program. Marcin, maybe you can give some of the highlights and what some of the things that you've been working on.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon. So let's start from the developer relationship program. And this program helped us to onboard new developers on BSV blockchain. And in this program, we have 4 stages for types of developers, like rookie, like aspiring, rookie, skilled, and veteran developer. And we want to onboarding and move all aspiring developer, that means the new developer, to the last 2 stages, like skilled and veteran developer. That means we want to have a lot of regular and senior developer in our on BSV blockchain. Our first group of developers who will be engaged in this in the program will be developers from DevCon and Time Chain Summer of Code. This program organized by our India hub, and there will be about 2,000 aspiring developers. And we will still working on that program, and we should be ready to launch this program in the next few weeks. The next one is enhanced collaboration between BSV Association and BlockDojo. And we had a few meetings with BlockDojo regarding the developers and how to use this program to help our suppliers or BlockDojo. We will try to pair our skilled and veteran developers with the cohort project, who can support the particular team and this project to build MVP version. The outcome of this collaboration includes 2 key values. The first one is we want to find experienced developers who can help develop MVP and help from the technical point of view. And second, these experienced developers can be also the part of this project. They can be CTO, so they can support and they can be the part of this project. On the one hand, this type of collaboration is valuable for both BSV Association and also BlockDojo. We will have new project which will start using BSV blockchain. Could be MVP, proof of concept, or go to market. On the other hand, this project may find IT talents who can support this idea from the technical point of view. And as you can see, the developer relationship program is not only the onboard developers to BSV blockchain, but we try to connect developers with the project, with other different on any suppliers in BSV ecosystem. And we try to generate many opportunities for developers to incentivize them using BSV blockchain. At the next town hall, we can go deeper in the developer relationship program because we will be ready and we will launch in the next few weeks, as I mentioned. Yeah, Sean, yes.
Thanks, Marcin. Thanks for the update on that. Great job. A couple last highlights from the outreach team. We are officially listed on the largest exchange in India, CoinDCX, with a BSV Indian rupee pair. And Rohan's been doing some amazing work over in India at his hub. He is working with one fintech startup that has been authorized by the central bank to create a sandbox on for deep finance tokens. And he's also starting marketing campaign on cohort 2 of the Time Chain Summer of Code. Very successful first cohort with over 2,000 aspiring developers. And I'm sure he's going to have another very successful cohort coming up. But thank you guys all for your time today. And please feel free to reach out with any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I have just been so impressed with the entire outreach team, Sean, Marcin, and especially Rohan. You're doing great work, and I encourage those who want to learn more about what Rohan is doing. He will be the next guest on the CoinGeek Weekly live stream with Kurt Wicker Jr. on the following Tuesday in just a few days. So make sure to tune into that. Next up, I would like to introduce Evan Freeman and Todd Price, who will be talking to us about the education program. Take it away, guys.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, I'll just quickly discuss our exciting development and then have Todd join and and elaborate a little further on our upcoming content strategy. But yes, we're currently transitioning to a new education platform, 360 Learning. Our old BSV Academy website will be shutting down, but it's an exciting new phase for us because 360 Learning is fairly innovative in how the courses are formatted on the platform, and how it is a very collaborative workspace for content creation. So it's really exciting for us, and it's going to allow us to do an extensive curriculum redesign that is really centered around the mandala upgrade. So yeah, maybe if Todd is available, he can join for the last few minutes and discuss this this new strategy. Todd, are you there?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Evan. So we're taking the opportunity to sort of completely revamp the architecture of the learning experience. So over the next phase, as we're onboarding with 360, we've got consultants from their company that are going to help us build out pathways for particular sort of educational journeys. We're also have some external consultants that are going to help us to really mastermind that and take it back to first principles. And we recognize a huge need to certify technical experts in this field. So we're going to have a technical stream. We'll have a stream for professionals and an academic stream. And then within those, we'll populate, relevant to particular industry use cases. So it'll create like a modular backbone or superstructure that can standardize the educational curriculum and corpus of information across all industry players with the platform, because it's a much more collaborative experience too. So we can define groups. So there will be a vendor agnostic, best practice knowledge acquiring process with the overlays, services, the mandala architecture with the Teranode paradigm, and then the groups that can be defined by people that participate in this can spin up their own one. So particular actors within the system, Babbage, Script, Script, tokenized, whoever else, they can also create their own environment where they extend the knowledge sphere into their domains as well. So it's an exciting time, and everyone can work really collaboratively on there. It creates a central point for messaging and communicating and making requests for more information and knowledge to become available, and working in alignment with all of the value streams to make sure that we're responding to the needs that exist, and that all the information coming out will be standardized, and it'll eliminate the pitfalls that we've had in the past of people accumulating technical debt by pursuing something which might not have necessarily been in alignment with the path that the whole ecosystem is moving forward. So moving into this future, I think we're going to have a much more positive experience for everyone to acquire ways of doing things, and hopefully that leads to just a massive explosion of developer ease and new products on the market. So thanks very much. I think that's wraps that up, really.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you very
great.
much, Todd. Very good work. And yeah, it's an exciting time. If you're interested in perhaps engaging with us on this platform, please reach out, and we can kind of see what collaborative efforts we can work on together.
There's a range of universities and such that are starting to partner with us as well, so we can use that platform to scale out our capacity to educate and certify other academic institutions to be able to teach the same curriculum, which is going to ensure no errors are propagated into the educational experience for anyone.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Martin Coxwell from our growth team, and then we will follow that up with a question and answer period. So maybe start by getting your questions written down now in preparation for that. Thank you very much. Martin, take it away.
Cheers, Brett. First off, congrats to everyone who's made it this far on the call, past the hour mark. I'm assuming that everybody's been paying very close attention because no games in the European football competition today. So everybody must be hooked on this call, which is great. Okay, I'll just dive right in. A lot of things have been touched on by my colleagues, but a few things I want to maybe circle back to. A few new campaigns which have been launched over the past quarter. By campaigns, I'm mostly referring to marketing and educational campaigns, which aim to inform people about a variety of the topics which have been talked about here. The first one is the Web3 CO2 campaign, which will be starting shortly in next few weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Very interesting campaign on the actual potential of the BSV blockchain to reduce carbon footprint, right? And its uses there. And then second point down, which has been touched on, I think, I believe by Thomas, from the Mandala upgrade and everything that it contains. There's a few things already. There was an announcement or some FAQs, some first pieces of content that kind of allude to what it is. So if you have no idea what the Mandala upgrade is about, there are plenty of links that you can follow. I believe my colleague Lizette is already carpet bombing the chat with some of these links so that you guys can check it out. And then the last campaign I wanted to highlight is the famed Chronicle update, which Connor talked about earlier. If you still think that somehow Chronicle is related to either the movie Pitch Black with Vin Diesel or something else like a music album by Dr. Dre, then you're very wrong, and you need to read one of these articles to set yourself straight. Chronicle update is a vital piece of our roadmap. So please follow the links which Lizette is putting into the chat. As usual, a quick recap of some of the stuff we've been on to, and before I move on to events, just last word on some of the content that we've been putting out, the marketing initiatives. I'm sure a lot of you will have noticed that over the past quarter, there have been some slight updates to the website. Frank mentioned one, the whole network section has been reworked, and along with some of the other sections, and there's still many more updates to come. Our flagship website, BSV Blockchain, is due for a complete overhaul this year. The point being to make it a lot easier for people to onboard, whether it's to the developers, which Marcin Wojecki was talking about, right? Or some of our other core audiences like business executives or people from government and lobbying backgrounds. The point is to make our flagship website better, improve it over time so that the right people get the right information, and we continue to, in this endeavor, to dispel some of the myths and misconceptions around blockchain in general and BSV specifically. So I think that's pretty much it on the content marketing side. I will just talk briefly about some of these events. Then Brett, maybe I'll let you finish out on some of the community stuff that you've been doing. LBC was obviously a big part, and DevCon were a big part of our quarter. I think enough's been said on that side of things. I'll focus quickly on one of the other strategic partnerships which we are leading, which is Aerospike, one of the other partners we've had on testing our Teranode software. Aerospike, our database provider, and they've been extremely open to doing a number of marketing initiatives with us. A couple of weeks ago, Thomas, Giacomo, and myself were in Paris for one of their events where we were able to present the BSV blockchain to a interesting selection of their enterprise clients they have, and it was very well received. Again, dispelling the myths around the scalability of blockchain in general and what Bitcoin can do as a peer-to-peer network and transaction processing technology. Very much well received. No, absolutely no interest in all the hype and noise that goes around the crypto world. They are interested only in the technology itself. So very positive signal there from the market, I would say, in terms of potential adoption. We have more of these events to come. We have another event with AWS. That's one of the other strategic partnerships which Sean talked about. In September in Zurich, there'll be an AWS summit, which we'll be taking part in again to present Teranode. And then further this year, there's a big event, another big Amazon event in Las Vegas called reInvent, which we'll be taking part in to again promote the technology to this very technical savvy and technically hungry audience on the enterprise level. I'll leave it at that. And Brett, maybe you want to cover some of these other community initiatives you've been championing.
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much, Martin. One thing that I'll mention is just that we have a slightly shorter town hall this quarter, just because we had a few presenters that were out. Notably, Siggi is gone, but we did have an update from the fourth Oskarsson brother, Cyrille Oskarsson. So we had a brief Teranode update on that. We talked about the Chronicle update as well, and I just want to reach out to let people know that, you know, if you have questions about the content that Connor shared with the new opcodes and some of those utility that is now possible that maybe previously wasn't, and the ability to, you know, lean into that imagination side of the transactions that you can now create, and you have questions about that, feel free to join our Discord. You know, that's what the Discord is for. It is discord.gg/BSV. And it is 24/7 forum for all things BSV related. So I'm really excited to be leading that way, as well as our ELI 5 sessions, which we've been hosting on Twitter every Thursday with our amazing host, Rory Zimmerman. So ELI 5 stands for Explain It Like I'm 5. And, you know, the purpose of that is just to provide a really accessible way for people to learn about the key concepts around blockchain, around Web3. We had this great presentation from Alexander Mann and Gregory Ward, but some of these concepts that they're talking about, IoT, remote devices sensing, pushing that on chain, you know, these aren't necessarily industry standards in terms in a lot of industries. So we're looking to build those inroads and make sure that this information is able to be absorbed by our industry partners so that it can, you know, lead to the next digital revolution. All right. And then now I would like to turn it over for the question and answer period of the town hall. So anybody that would like to ask a question either about any of our presenters or about the Tempest Weather Vane project, please join and ask away. All right, if it is, do we have any questions? Otherwise, I have a question, and because we ended the session with a little bit of Rohan's discussion about this time chain lab summer of code, and we didn't really get to cover a lot of that. He will be the next guest on Kurt's show, but maybe Rohan, can you talk to us a little bit about the summer of code, what is available for developers who are looking to move, as Marcin talked about, from that rookie to that skilled or veteran developer process, and how does the summer of code facilitate that?
Hi guys, hi everyone. So nice to connect with you all. And very nice update we're seeing with the BSV blockchain on the roadmap. So the time chain summer of code cohort 1, what we did was there are requirements for the developers to go through different workshops, 4 workshops in particular, and do those courses on the BSV Academy, which is a Bitcoin script course, which is a very technical course, which goes in depth into how the assembly language and the push data, OP codes, everything else works around that, as well as the Bitcoin enterprise course to understand the use cases of blockchain, and then go through 4 live workshops, one of them on the BSV SDK, one of them on the how to develop the Teranode, how the SPV wallet works, how the architecture of scalable blockchain applications work, and one on the fundamentals of blockchain, and another one on TypeScript-based smart contracting. So with these 4 workshops and them doing real transactions on the BSV blockchain using the SDK and the script language, making smart contracts with a problem statement given to them, they qualify as the rookie developers. So that has been what we have been up to. And we have got about 326 developers who have now completed that as part of cohort 1. We're trying to get more to qualify and actually successfully develop their codes and go along learning in the future phases. There is a phased approach to this. That's just the first phase, which is the upskilling phase, in which they are learning this. Next is developing a full stack application using the BSV SDK, where they integrate the wallet as well. And that will actually qualify them to actually contribute into any type of code. So that's where we want to get them to finally become a skilled developer as per our different designations of developers. So I would like to have more developers, whoever are interested, join the program as part of cohort 2. The link can be shared with you. You can find them on the Discord of BSV as well. And TSOC 2024 is the channel there where you can track how many developers are there having different interactions. So love to connect with more developers joining the program. And that's all from my side.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Marcin, did you want to add anything to that? Otherwise, I wanted to mention that, Marcin, take it away.
Yeah, of course. So the Townhall Summer Code is a very specific program because Rohan tried to teach developer the BSV blockchain, how to use it and how to start like SP wallet, like smart contracts. But also we can have the others events around the world where we have only the very short hackathons, like 2 days or some events for developers. Then we also put all of them to the HubSpot, to the process, and all developers who we want to onboard on BSV blockchain, that means there are aspiring developer. And also in HubSpot, we build the process where we send the emails or direct to our web page for developers, to our tools, libraries. And we also try to teach the developers how to start using our tools. And then we also move from the aspiring to the rookie and rookie to the skilled. And also we have a much more incentives for the developers, like internal open source project where they can contribute the work. Also, we try to connect, as I mentioned during this town hall a few minutes ago, we try also connect developers, skilled and veteran developers with the others project suppliers, others business in our ecosystem to matching and build much more project can help us to increase the adoption of BSV blockchain. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anyone else that has a question, feel free to ask for any of our guests. Otherwise, I can follow up with a second question that I have for the utilization value stream. Thomas or Darren maybe can comment on this, but Rohan and Marcin, you were talking about smart contracts, and I had heard that potentially smart contracts are under consideration for one of the components that would be being looked at for that open source tooling to be able to be standardized and documented and maintained by the association. And maybe, is there anything that either Thomas or Darren could talk about or comment on in terms of that?
Sure, yeah. So the way in which we've been thinking about these things is, a common question is, in smart contracts, how is state management handled? And Script has done a great job of explaining how you can do that in the UTXO world. And the functional component that we would provide a sort of reference implementation for is an overlay. So you can imagine an overlay as defined by something that requires that UTXO that enters this particular overlay is a particular flavor of smart contract. And this way you can have that sort of state management handled by, so by state management, I mean, UTXOs are individual updates to UTXOs. They spend some UTXOs, they create new ones. So the concept of state is at a higher level, and what that's handled by would be an overlay for sort of state management. So I hope that goes some way to explain how the sort of two things marry. I would want to mention that you could do that with Scrypt. You could do that with Bitcoin script. So if you do Rohan's course and you understand Bitcoin script, this sort of assembly language stuff, you can do it on that low level using an overlay as well. So there, and you could use your own proprietary libraries for making smart contracts in another way if you have a novel way to do that. And you can wrap that up in terms of the management of those tokens within the overlay sort of framework. And that's how that would fit into everything we're doing.
Excellent, perfect. And I think that Paymail even is being included into some of that because of the, the need of what you talked about for the, the exchange of data and communication, in a scalable way that fits with that SPV model.
No, let me separate those ideas a little bit. I know they get thrown around a lot, and specifically in Paymail, the Paymail capability for SPV, which is Paymail receive beef transaction. So I want to demodel that a little bit. So Paymail is really, in my mind, it's a service discovery mechanism. It's a way to get from something that looks like an email address to a URL, and it allows people to define their own protocols in terms of what data they're exchanging. But all of those protocols can be used without the service discovery mechanism. For example, if you're like in person, you can still use the data models that come under a specific Paymail capability without actually using the Paymail service discovery mechanism. So the TSC sort of official Paymail spec is only about resolving that thing into a URL somehow, right? So getting from that email looking thing, doing the DNS lookups, finding a server where you can make a request. That's what Paymail is like by definition. And I think over the years it's become muddled with all of the things that have been served by Paymail that aren't necessarily strictly related to that service discovery mechanism. So there's, there's some nuance there to the differences. And we can still use some of these protocols, even if we're in person, without using Paymail discovery. So that hopefully does some way to clarify what the difference between Paymail and some of the underlying capabilities are.
Yeah. Yes, and it seems very in line with that Mandala need for the the overlay architecture to be built out. Okay, gonna turn it around to the audience one last time to see, do we have any questions for any of our guests or any of the presenters? Otherwise, if not, we can wrap things up and say thank you very much for joining us for the BSV Quarterly Town Hall. Is, in my humble opinion, one of the most exciting town halls and the most exciting quarters that we've had as an organization. And that goes back to what I talked about in the beginning of the presentation, which is just that, when you are bringing in emergent technology to the market, you obviously naturally face some headwinds. And if it was easy, then everyone would do it, right? But one of the things that we have on our side is the economic incentives that underpin the network itself. And so the economic incentives are such that if you can scale, the economic incentives can scale. I think it's probably not very likely to be possible to outscale economic incentives. So that's the really exciting part. And the really exciting part is that when you start to build up steam and you are moving downhill and creating a lot of progress, it builds into each other and it feeds on each other. I'll just use this really quick example, which is just that, I have a meeting coming up in a few hours with a senior engineer of NASA who found out about BSV through a game, through a trading card game. So it was, it's one of those things where, as you build success, feed success, and success builds success. So as we're moving in the right direction, as we're building up steam, we're becoming a runaway freight train. It's really exciting to see all these partnerships materialize as Teranode is being prepared to be implemented and to be brought onto mainnet And so, yeah, really excited for the next few months and for the roadmap. Thank you all very much for being part of this journey with us, for continuing to lend your energy and your support to what is being developed and built here. And, you know, one thing that I'll leave you with is just not to lose place of the imaginative side. Connor talked about this, that, you know, so the reducing of some of these restrictions really enables imagination to blossom. And, you know, the imaginative side is going to be the side that guides us forward. Because we have a great technology that can preserve data and can do all types of wonderful things: auditability, security, integrity, and all of that without imagination really doesn't get you anywhere. We really need to use that as a stepping stone, but allow imagination to lead our way. So I want to thank everyone for being on this call, for tuning in, and for supporting each other as we're continuing to grow this community and to grow the vision for the BSV blockchain. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next one.